Go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is going to be kind of an informal talk about our experience with Chamber Group and what we've done and stuff that we wish we learned when we were in school and kind of the way we came our way.
Yeah, I think we met most of you guys, but it's not clear at the Lincoln experiment.
That's true.
Well, Andrew, I play the saxophone.
I play the bassoon.
We are like a flexible instrumentation ensemble, so this is like our full roster of musicians. Michelle, Ava, and Danielle are all not able to be here. Danielle is supposed to be here, but sadly. Yeah.
Upstairs.
I heard from her, she's alive, she said she's not. So yeah, we do various instrumentations within that. Sometimes we do play in the full that we play music. Anything down to you. So I guess that's where I'm gonna talk kind of about the history of the ensemble. So we've been on the Lincoln tournament was first formed in 2017. So the original three members you can see up here on the screen, all the way to the one guy's left is Michelle, who's still a member of the ensemble. In the middle we have Natalie Pete, who is no longer in the ensemble. She ended up going to law school. She was actually now our board president, so she still is a member of the ensemble. And then myself, probably sometimes early 2017, I randomly got a text from Michelle. Michelle and I went to high school together. Randomly got a text saying, "Hey, you know Natalie Pate, the harp player? You know of her? You want to play trios together? Saxophone, clarinet, and harp?" And I said, "That's a terrible idea. I love it. Let's do it." So the first thing I did after that, I was down at Bowling Green State University at the time in Ohio. The two of them were up at Michigan State, probably about a 3-hour drive-ish. As soon as that text happened, I went to the Show Me the One Decks book on saxophone repertoire. It's about that thick. It has every piece written for saxophone from its invention in the early 1800s up to about 2010. And I was like, okay, if anything is going to have a piece for this instrumentation, it'll be that. No, absolutely zero. Yeah, honestly, like, and we'll get into that a little bit. Like the reason we did such instrumentation is because we all got along and were playing, and that's how the ensemble is stayed. We are not a quintet minus bass clarinet plus harp because it makes sense. We do that because we all work. But anyways, so very early on, we wanted to do music. It was just what interested all of us. So we ended up meeting at Starbucks in Flint, Michigan, and got a laptop out. And I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? Let's first off band, right? The cool thing, we like the word experiment. We thought having the at the beginning of our name was gonna sound like official and mature. So we were gonna put the experiment. It sounded like very stupid. So we actually wrote out a piece of paper, the underscore experiment. We kept filling in that underscore with things. And nothing just seemed right. So finally, we were like, cool, just have you can fill it in with whatever you want. So very early on in some of our marketing stuff, we would actually fill in like different things. We've since kind of moved in that marketing campaign, but ultimately it is pronounced the blank experiment. It is 5 underscores. The IRS hates us because this is
Well, there's 5 members too, so I like to keep
and BLANK. So yeah, then we started thinking like, okay, what are we gonna do? We don't want to do transcriptions, we want to do music. So we ended up finding 3 different composers: Jacob Breslowski, Emily McPherson, and Josh Treneville. The former 2 were students where I was at Bowling Green. The latter was up at Michigan State. And we got $50 a year. Like, can you write something for us? We're like I was a sophomore, Michelle was a senior, and I was a junior. Like, can you just do something? And they all wrote us very lovely pieces. And since then, we've been very fortunate to work with a whole host of composers. And very shortly after that, we made a Facebook page too, and I cannot describe how much like love and support we got right from the get-go. We made that Facebook page, and within hours, we already had probably our first 3 concerts worth of music by composers who wanted to write it. We were flooded with messages, and we've been very fortunate since, that we've never had to like go out of our way. We, like, literally, I was just saying before we started the presentation, the composer sent me a message on Instagram wanting to write this. So like, we really do love the music community, and we've been so fortunate to have composers reach out to us, really wanting to work with us, because, it was a fun thing.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I think it's fun too.
But,
Oh, yeah, we're trying to talk about that. So then, like I said, Natalie ended up going to law school. So we thought we might do like saxophone, clarinet, duet stuff for a little bit. We didn't really like the vibe of just having two instruments. Eva was the member to join after that. Shortly after the pandemic started, we had too much free time on our hands, all of us. I knew Eva through an Reed quintet in undergrad. Yes, I did. And they sent her a message and they're like, hey, if you know, ensemble, you want to play with us. So then there's a few of us for a little bit, and I think you and Danielle joined around the same time.
yeah, a little bit after. So I actually knew Ava. We did like youth ensembles with those kids. And then I was at the University of Michigan for my undergrad. And my senior year was the same year that Drew started his master's. And they had some sort of, I can't remember exactly what it's called, a collaboration where you could imprint, we had an imprint series. So basically it's like sign up to do this and we'll randomly pair you with another twin and a composer and they'll write something for you and do it. And so Drew and I got paired, and that's how we met, and we got to do a pretty cool piece that we actually played on Thursday night.
Yeah, Salon's work.
Yeah. And I remember like just kind of going over something like this is new music stuff, and I was primarily classical instruments and I never really done anything like that before. But working with Drew, I was like, oh my gosh, this clicks, this works, it's amazing. And then I guess shortly after he asked if I could join.
Yeah, I remember walking away from that rehearsal and I texted Michelle and Nathan, I'm like, I found us as soon as I haven't asked her yet, but I'll get her, because it was the rehearsal went very well.
It's a little break.
The rehearsal clicked so well, and again, the invitation didn't make sense, but it was an hour rehearsal that we were just like, okay, 10 minutes later, we have the piece done, and it just worked. Which, I mean, we've all been in rehearsals before, and some work better than others. Danielle, on the other hand, I met through Twitter.
She's an amazing artist.
Yes, she is like a new music harpist. I know many of you worked with her on harp pieces, and she's very good at like helping composers understand the nightmare instrument that is harp. But a mutual composer friend of ours just happened to tweet at the like experiment and be like, hey, if you ever want a harp again, here's Danielle. So I didn't call with her, and first time we met was for probably a 5-hour rehearsal that we had at her house before we had a huge recording
Yeah, we
session.
recorded at University of Michigan.
Yeah, first time we all met each other was then, and it's worked out ever since.
Yeah, I think the first piece, when I walked into her house, I can't remember what the title of it was, but it's
A Nice Box Oh So Square by Jasper Sussman.
and I think we were supposed to impersonate a dinosaur or some sort, and so I come in and like, you know, like slamming on the mark and just scream. And
At
I was
the
like,
end-
oh, that's what I'm good
At the
at.
end, it's just like I stopped having notes, and it says something along the lines of, "You're a baby dinosaur. Are you sad? Are you angry? You don't know."
And he was trying to figure that
It's
out.
literally
So
just like-
or-
Like they just want me to, she just wanted me to screech in the high register, and at the end it says, "Final scream with your voice if so inclined."
And he was so inclined that day.
So and we have a couple recordings up. We did at Music Chicago. We did it for that first recording session. You can find on YouTube, and I actually just screamed. I played 2 pieces that I just screamed. It's weird, but weird that happens.
I mean, that was like, sure. But that's basically the long story of how we all met each other. And that's the first step, I think, in chambers, is finding people that you work really well with. And I've done other chambers before, and like it's been like some friends of mine, but it hasn't really gelled as musicians. And so you kind of have to be able to play well with people, but also like get along. So it's kind of a 2-part to getting started.
Yeah, and some of the ensembles that you think about like start with an acting right? You start as your saxophone quartet in undergrad, you start as your quintet. But we were very different in that we didn't start from a specific university, which I think helped us in some ways and hindered us in others. We never had like coaching for a group of it. We started with, they drove down to Bowling Green and like signed out a room and we rehearsed for a couple hours and then drive up to Michigan State.
We had like a coaching on our doing.
Yeah, we had one coaching with Matt Elber on her too. But for the most part, we just found people that gel well together and it's kind of works. And especially now, because as far as repertoire goes, I'll get to what I was going to say as far as being far apart. But yeah, as far as repertoire goes, like it's challenging to find repertoire for such odd instrumentation. It's something that we have not wanted to go the transcription route, so we really had to look towards the music, which has been a very good thing, but at the same time, it means we're constantly learning new things. Which can be a challenge, but it's also something that we really enjoy. And so we all have separate roles in the ensemble that we'll talk about later on, but my role in the ensemble is artistic director, so what I do is I do a lot of programming for the ensemble and I figure out what pieces we're going to play and what order and whatnot.
Even though we work on something.
Yes, even though they disagree sometimes. So when it comes to actually programming with the ensemble, I'm somebody who really does, I like that the 21st century has a lot to offer when it comes to new music, and it's not defined by a stylistic idea as much as other periods are, right? When you think of Baroque music, we talk about it in terms of, it has this characteristic or whatnot. When it comes to 21st century music, anything, everything can be good. And I try my best in programming to showcase that.
I think we're preaching to the choir a little bit.
I know, but I don't know who's watching on the live stream.
But I mean, we like being able to kind of explore and navigate the paths and, try to embody it and not necessarily just the best, but just trying to bring out what each composition, like what each composer wants to.
Yeah, there's something Dave and I were talking about actually earlier, and it's something that I always say, especially to younger students who may be introduced to the fact that not all composers are dead white guys or how it is. But an artist, like a painter, can make a painting and hang that in a museum. Right? A chef can create a meal. When it comes to a composer, they create this form of art for it to actually be presented to the audience in the medium in which that is performance. So I kind of view our ensemble as a medium from composer to audience. Because music is really all about people. It's always been all about people. Like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. You guys probably wouldn't be sitting here staring at the wall if it wasn't for us, right? Music can't exist without people. So, yeah. So, networking is,
Oh, well, I was gonna say, Ruth mostly is the person that kind of talks to a bunch of people. I think, personally, I just love getting to know everyone that we work with and, what you expect of us and what we like to kind of make things happen, honestly. I mean, we do, like, randomly do stuff on Facebook or we events, but it's just really having an open mind, like, as a performer, I know I've been in chambers and people, no, we're not gonna play music. We're not gonna like do this. It's more just like being open and willing to like creates the most success.
We're in a field where there's a lot of really arrogant people. There's a lot of really rude, at least in my experience, there's been a lot of rude people. There's a lot of egos in our field. So that we try to be as nice as possible. We're not, gods ruling over everybody. We like to be casual. That's why we're doing this presentation more casually, because we're just, we like to be friends with people. We're going to be nice, build friendships. Like, someone else talked about the saxophone studio a little bit earlier, because they were asking me kind of about what kind of composers I like to approach commissioning. And composers aren't, I feel like sometimes when we talk about commissioning, we almost talk about the composer as though they are a prop. Like they're just, hey, we're giving this inanimate object money to spew out a piece of art. And I do that, right? Like, I think of it much more as a relationship, right? Like, so many of these composers we've worked with multiple times. Like, I think one of the big reasons we're here is because actually Indy and I went to undergrad together, and then ended up both going to grad school together. And then when I found out they were coming down to Miami, I reached out and said, hey, we'd love to come down as long as it's not during the summer. It's too hot. And then it just, like, it wasn't just this, you know, me working with Indy because I wanted a product. It was because it was actually right, we can actually talk and human beings. Right? And that's something that I feel like we forget a lot. And especially with social media, where we can all be really take to social media. And we try and be real, and we try and meet people and be friendly through that medium as well. So we're just able to make more friends and build a nice community around us. And we've been so fortunate to be surrounded by just really incredible people, really incredible composers, really incredible performers, and have just this lovely friendship. Yeah. And that kind of goes to this idea of being friends with composers, building connections, and then when it comes to like actually drafting things, it totally depends composer to composer. We have had times where composers really like to be involved and send us sketches constantly. Hey, does this work? Does this work? And then we have some times where I barely know a composer and they send us a
Like, I wrote for your group, here it is,
Yeah.
final product. Like, oh, nice to meet you.
That's awesome. That's very good. And we always really super appreciate it. We know that you guys do a lot, so we always love when composers come in for us and we try our best to do this quickly as possible.
Yeah, and in terms of like commissioning or doing consortium, like usually, I mean, it depends on like the composer of the project, but sometimes a lot of contracts where, you know, you have to perform it within a specific date and time, or you have to have a certain amount of performances and kind of different contracts and constraints on that. So it's just kind of something that we have to also be mindful of when programming things. How often we perform and what we do with those.
Because when we talk about commissioning, at least from a performer side, I feel like we always talk about the monetary value, but there's a lot of other elements that come with commissioning. I can't speak for composers, but I feel like being a premiere is significantly easier than a second performance or third performance or cockpit or original performance. So very often, like in lieu of and giving everything that the composer wants, so like we'll perform it 3 times, we'll make sure there's recording for you, we'll make sure this and that, and we'll try our best to make it a fair process.
Yeah, and when our partners they can pull it out again to do something like we did on theirs.
Yes, exactly. With that program, it's fun. So honestly, when it comes to finding different performers and things, for the most part, I think we kind of talked about finding all the performers. Venues, it totally depends. We play a form of music that I feel like is so often tied with academia, which I don't agree with fully that music has to be an academic field, but I feel like a lot of people do that. And so a lot of performances have been more academic based. But I think people are very open-minded, and some of my most receptive audiences have been middle schoolers who think it sounds and they think are fun. At the end of the day, that's still somebody who likes the music, right? Just because they don't think it's a serious high art, like doesn't mean they don't enjoy it. I very early on in undergrad, I played a piece frequently by Emily McPherson that has like a disassembled tenor saxophone. One page on the mouthpiece, second page on the neck, and no notes, it's all on percussion staff. And like, what's going on? Like students think that's so much fun because they're open-minded. They haven't been told what's right and wrong.
And then on that as well, we did something called robot sessions, which we kind of got to present what works in our instruments, what we like to do, and really show composers the stuff that isn't necessarily taught in schools. Like I know a lot of the extended techniques that I do now, or even are almost maybe one up, but like it's just kind of something that I wish was more accessible. And I think with these toolbox sessions, we each got to kind of show and present what our instruments can do. And I know it really varies on the performer. Like I prefer to not do like key clicks. Like something on saxophone, you can hear that very well, but on the bassoon, like I purposely about kind of like the oil of my piece to make it as quiet as possible, because I also play the second tomorrow, second scene, and like, I have to be very quiet, and like, I don't like hearing the sounds of keys clicking and stuff. Sometimes I'll ask if a composer writes it in music, I'll be like, this is probably better on the saxophone, but not on the string. So there's like little odd things. It's like, oh, well, maybe I can do something on the reed that will give more percussive sound. Yeah, it was really cool to kind of be a part of that. And I think there's still some videos that can get access to it. It wasn't just a land experiment, it had like, I think almost, and a guitar, like other people kind of talk about the new music stuff and like what really like flatters each instrument.
We also have something on the side that I'm not sure whether we got, but I know it's codes that work with us got, where we just kind of outline a lot of that stuff. And then you guys have looked the same way I look at the secret or just look at the people. But like,
Yeah, and there's like stuff that we prefer. And,
for people. Yeah.
So none of us live in the same state anymore. We all kind of used to be around Michigan, but Danielle is the only one that's left there. Drew's in Ohio, Dave was in Chicago, Illinois. Michelle is in California, and I'm in Kansas. And so being a part of professional chamber ensemble, you have to be in constant communication. And so we have frequent Zoom meetings, and I know a little bit about this later, but we're now a nonprofit, so we don't have a board. And we're all on, but we also have outside of good decisions and kind of what we're going to do with allocating funds to start doing more joint writing with that. But I know
Michigan, Chicago, and Washington. So they're also.
we are technically based in Chicago because we have a good partnership and a collaboration with Music Chicago. But in terms of, I think, being successful in the chamber, we're working with other successful chambers. It's really like we have to have a common goal. And even if you wanted to do different performances, like only 3 of us can come here, or and future projects are doing kind of like terms of like collaboration and kind of coming up with a good plan and sticking to it. We all have different goals. I guess I'll say that. So Drew is our artistic director, to kind of explain a little bit about what he does. Michelle is our executive director. It's only fair since she started Drew. And she also is our creative director. She's really good at photography and graphic design. So all the pictures and stuff she's done, our website she's done. I'm our director of development, so I'll be doing mostly grant writing and stuff. Because I'll try to sum it up quickly, but in my undergrad I did a lot of like music admin classes, and I also got a minor in nonfiction writing, so I like it. With all my free time.
And one thing I want to add to that, like, we are not reinventing the wheel here. We don't, again, we did not have like guidance at university like a lot of other ensembles did when they were seniors and we wanted to professional ensemble. So what did we do? Well, we looked at other ensembles to try and see what they're doing. And in case you don't know, you can look up tax returns for anyone. You can look up the tax returns for University of Miami and see what the president makes if you really want to. It's kind of fun to do sometimes. But we looked up like the Acropolis Quintet, Del Niente, Ice Ensemble, and a lot Prism Quartet and the White Saxon Quartet to see what do they do and what's all the common things with that. First off, they're all nonprofits.
And they have a board.
And they have a board. And like when you have a board, you have to have an executive director, just like specific rules. The executive director is Michelle's person who like communicates with the board to set board time. She makes like meeting minutes. She like sends out agendas. Because there's also certain rules you have to follow within board meetings.
Social voting.
Yes. In what order, who says what,
And we all have a common goal, but it's a way to try to protect the integrity of the ensemble.
and then actually looking at all of these tax returns from these organizations, like, right? We're adults, but do any of us really know how many years where money comes from? But when we looked at all of these organizations, the common goal, the common thing to all of them is about half the money came from grants. All of them. Probably about 40 to 60% for everyone getting grants, and the other came from coming to residencies and having performances. So we knew very early on when all 5 of us came together, like probably should. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And then Danielle does our social media, because she's a social media leader. I mean, when I remember when I first met her, I saw all of her art stuff. She's great at it. And I don't know if you've seen some of our posts. I know she came up with an AI Lego set of our group from it. We're gonna figure out what some of our instruments are, but that's something we're still trying to navigate as well. We're trying to be as accessible, but also kind of show that we're more effectively private. And then Ava's our director of finance, so she deals with everything, which I mean, I think I'm pretty grateful for.
I hate money.
But that's something that like with grants, that like Ava and I were working closely on. We have a whole bunch of tools. I know everybody knows like what Discord is, but we really like the fact that this is not a paid sponsored ad, like, right?
You should.
But it's really nice because it actually, we have it linked to our Discord, and we have different channels based off of the different spaces we have on it. And that's kind of where we do most of our communication and where we upload projects, we have recordings that we upload there, we have music library there, and it also allows you to have different folders, so our board, that's not one of our official records. But make all of our meeting, I think all of it. But I think this is a really huge part of why we're able to stay together, is to have an online database that's also linked for Discord. So if someone uploads something like, hey, I just finished this grant, can you read this? Like, it'll automatically Discord, not like, oh, I have to go log in and click up to see what's on the docket for today. So
We also have a Discord channel for meetings, because also we're all friends, right? And like, we also do like, you know.
we take each other seriously, but we like to go
Yeah.
each other.
It's good to be friends, even if you don't need to. So there's a play on, some of us hate each other, but we don't hate each other, so we
Not
have
yet.
each other. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and then we have a whole bunch of different performance projects, which I know, Drew is kind of in charge of figuring that stuff out and
yes. So when it comes to albums, we've released one album and one EP at this point. The album, that was when we first formed the ensemble, in that first meeting that we had, we're like, we should have our end goal be like, that's really the big goal of this, right? And, no, I'm sure you all know, but if you don't know, you'll learn as you get older. Like, you can set a goal, but once you reach that goal, you're gonna want another, right? We keep wanting to strive and move forward as artists, as people. So our goal was to record an album. We're gonna recording that. Very well. So conversations, you look up on any of your streaming platforms. I've heard it well. It's nice. I know.
yeah, we're doing this.
I like it. I didn't want to see it. Do anyone here to see Fire? Thank you. Okay, one. But
We'll
it's,
find a way to do it.
yeah, but it's it was of a lot of our early pieces that we commissioned from our first two concerts. We poured all done everything from a bass saxophone, bass clarinet duet by Josh Trinity called Anti-Cathedra to we have full trio, soprano saxophone, B-flat clarinet, harp by Lincoln Sweeney. It was a full host of pieces. And our EP is actually pretty recent. It's myself and Danielle doing all saxophone and harp pieces, some stuff that we commissioned, some more standard repertoire saxophone harp pieces. We have another plan for one. The next one will be saxophone and it's all programmed out.
And we're all gonna do a rock.
Yes, that is.
Our vocalist is
Something else. COVID was terrible for a lot of
really?
I don't think I heard. But I'm somebody, I try my best to look at the right side of things, and I think something that's very good that came out of COVID is the idea of virtual concerts and virtual recitals. Because we are very fortunate to have a wide-spanning audience that's not just located in one area, especially since we're all over the place. So if we were to have a pop-up concert in Wichita, like, when a lot of people who would really want to come wouldn't be able to. So we've done a lot of completely virtual concerts. We record everything beforehand and then release it all. And because that way our friends from California, our friends from Canada, our friends down in Florida, our friends in Chicago, we're all watching at the same time. And we always hop on Zoom and we try and have it be again, like an informal, just
And lots of proposers on there, kind of talk a little bit about their piece, like kind of make it more intimate than just like, we recorded this, let's play now, and you can play this if you want to, like actually make it an experience.
and that way, also going back to the idea of like, so this way, like we're getting pretty decent quality recordings. I mean, it's all our stuff, like the cameras we have, our editing skills, basic editing skills and things, but we're able to get products for the posers to use for whenever they want. And then obviously. So, Michelle and Danielle do so much for our session. When it comes to our actual like website and platform, it's not like a Wix or a Weekly or anything. It is actually like from code that Michelle made. It's a very nice, like very nice website. And we also have very specific branding colors. You've probably seen through all of this. We use the same couple of colors. We do that for the color association. We fit these purples and pinks. And
That's why we work so fast.
We also try our best to use social media again, to get people all over the place, and we want to interact with all of them. We want to be able to meet more people that may not be directly in our vicinity.
I think a huge part of like having a brand. I mean, ours shifts a little bit, and we have to do this from each and every shades of people. But I think kind of really establishing something or having a homepage, like a website, might be really helpful. But
And as a performer, I love those websites. They're
yes,
so cool.
they are very helpful and helps give us kind of at least an idea of who we're going to work with.
Even if it's not like a free site, it helps so much with those. We use Canva. If you don't know Canva, look up Canva. It's incredible. It is like a very easy, very, very basic, easy Photoshop, but it looks really good.
I'm very familiar with
Like I think some of the posts SCI is named for Canva, right? Yeah. Yeah, and that, like I recognize some of the stuff, and it's very good. Use Canva. Also not sponsored, but if you want to sponsor us. Is anyone watching? See, we use green as well.
You can take over this one. We used to be an LLC, but
Yeah.
transitioned to a nonprofit, which there's a lot of very specific, intricate, boring details about all that stuff. But I think for us, it seemed to be really beneficial to move to the nonprofit. To know before that, when we were an LLC, when it came to getting like, donations, you actually legally can't say donations. So you're like, oh, tips for the concert. You know, do you want to be able to sustain the group and kind of work with and commission music? But I know you have to be very careful which business model you have, even as a composer as well.
So this isn't a so I won't go too much into detail unless you guys really want me to afterwards. But an LLC stands for limited corporation. Limited
Liability.
It's LLC. Limited liability company. It's basically like the reason we became an LLC is when we were releasing that first album, if for whatever reason there was some sort of copyright issue with that, it would go to the company, not to us. So it was kind of a safety protection for us when we were first trying to release things that we could sell. Yeah, exactly.
Use
Not
your house or something.
Yeah, not that we were worried about composers, but honestly, it was just like a safe thing for us.
The performance and we had
And when you're an LLC, you're not able to apply for one. You can with something called fiscal sponsorship, which is basically when a nonprofit is like, hey, they're legit, give us money, we'll give them money.
and we have that.
And we have fiscal sponsorship through the International Foundation for Contemporary Music, and it's been very helpful for us, so we just thought that it was going to be us to go for the nonprofit route.
And it was kind of a middle step. And kind of easy, kind of like their interesting transition. I believe it gives you a certain amount of months before you have to become a nonprofit or you have to do something. It was very, not, it was interesting to work through. Luckily, one of our employees understands that stuff, so she's able to help us navigate those things. But I think it's important to know kind of what you want to do as an artist and what like your business model you're using to really use that to your advantage and not get trying to figure out
Like when it came to actually picking our board, we picked people very strategically. Our board president is a lawyer. Our vice president works in nonprofit up in Michigan. We have 3 members who are all proposers, and then all 5 of us also sing.
we also wanted to have proposers on the board to so they know their perspectives and make sure that we're doing something that is healthy and helpful for all the collaborators.
Especially when it came to commissioning, we want to make sure we're doing things.
Fair, and like that they can help us approach it more securely.
And then when you do make a board, you don't all necessarily need to be on the board, but all of us felt that we had something to contribute, so we all.
And that's also something that like, I know the only thing not the only thing, but one of the huge things that they used to beat to death when they were like freshman and sophomore year at college was like the portfolio career. And like, oh, you're not just a performer, you're also this and this and that. And like, it is true. But I think also like finding what your niche is in that and kind of what you can bring to the table. And I think we were really able to sit down and talk to each other and say, like, okay, what are you good at? What are you good at? We're able to assign roles based off of that. And we also all have different jobs that we do. Like, I work in admin, research out, I run the human resource for Coach possibly, and I'm also the second resource coach possibly. So I kind of get to experience all the fun things that come with working with 200 kids and kind of running ensembles based off of that. But we also get to sit and play classical music and I get to do fun learning and performances like this. And really, there's
Yeah, and then I'm the manager of concerts and events at Cleveland School Music, but as well I'm also on faculty at Cleveland School Music as a trumpet chamber music preparatory department, as well as a part-time lecturer at the St. Kitts Western.
so we all kind of found what works for us and what we can bring to the table. Play for strengths, really, and I think that's really beneficial when like, collaborating with people or forming a group is kind of assigning roles based off of what we're excited about and holding each other to as well. And I mean, there's been times where like the end of my master's, I had a huge recital of it program. I had oral exams. I was like, guys, I'm going to have to step away for a little bit. I won't be able to meeting notes. I won't be able to write anything with regrets. And like, we're going to have to like redistribute, reassign roles based on different leaves of absence. And that's something that also like with a nonprofit and board would have to think about and go on.
And like we, if we ever do add new members, we're going to request we would probably do something here.
Yeah, and just being flexible with that. You know, it's not all defined. It's not all fixed.
So, rambling on for a bit, but like, what would be beneficial for you guys? We're a music ensemble for people. How can we help you guys?
That's one thing that I'm just curious of. So, when you're getting submissions from composers, what sort of things are you looking for with how they approach
Friendliness.
Yeah, honestly, I'm totally fine with any of it. The biggest things when it comes that I ask of composers when they approach us is give us time, especially like if we have no idea you're writing a piece and you send us a 15-minute piece, we really appreciate it. I understand your guys' time is valuable, but we might be able to get to it just because we've all been and the time that and so many people are waiting for like which is awesome. But the last time we've done together was like that. Because we've been moving more to the country, just so that's easier or financially viable. So we just ask for grace when it comes to
Yeah,
that.
and I mean, we're pretty communicative with that. So I mean, other ensembles do rehearse regularly every week. We see each other all the time, but I mean, I really appreciate when people reach out, like, hey, I'd like to write this piece, or I'm writing this piece, and kind of talking about more of a collaborative process. And I've had people reach out and be like, this is what this is, and please play it by this date. I'm like, I would love to. I would absolutely love to. But we all have full-time jobs, and we all live in different states, and, some people are not happy about that, but I don't know, just, I love talking to people, like, and approaching people, like, in a friendly, like, not like, I am this bassoonist, and I only play this. It's like, oh, how can we work together? I think that's the best way, personally.
Or I think approaching it like, if you want to work with us, being like, hey, what instrumentation do you need? Because honestly, there's some instrumentations we desperately need. We need like bassoon clarinet really bad. We need oboe clarinet, we just don't have anything. We always got open instrumentation when we have to program that because there's nothing. So like, if composers come to us and they're like, we want to work with you guys, but like, how can we help? And we always really appreciate, I appreciate that like a lot.
Or if you have an idea of what instrumentation you want to do or style you want to do, just how you want us to perform.
I know something that is, we're busy and so we've not had time to do this, but something we wanted to do is do more of a formal call for scores and calls for ideas. Mostly because I love emails and messages that I get in ensemble gets, but it's very hard to keep organized sometimes.
Yeah.
So we're hoping within the next year or so that we're going to be like, hey, if you've ever wanted to send us something, put it here.
And or just reach out and talk with us.
Yeah.
Like, how can we perform something that you want to do?
Yeah, we are, I mean, we're human beings, we have Facebook, like, I don't understand, I'm back. Well,
And sensors.
Oh, yeah, that's
sensors do here, so.
the first message on some other God, I won't say who the composer was, but was, y'all need shit to play? Literally the first message we ever got as an ensemble.
Classy.
Oh yeah, I mean, it worked out. We recorded that person's piece on our first album. That narrows it down to 5.
So I guess be memorable.
Yeah, so like, honestly, like, that's great. Like, reach out to us. We're human beings. You don't need to like send us a formal stuff email.
But then we would start like, an actual collaborative process.
Yes.
It's organized and documented where it's not, it doesn't have to like, oh, yeah. I mean, it's great for an initial contact, for sure.
And again, there are some times where, like, both of them reach out to me or reach out to us and say, hey, like, we are swamped right now. Can you reach out back out to me in 6 months? And I was appreciating that. We do really want to work to make those happen. Sometimes we're just
Here's the capacity in which we can help with drafts or sketches, like,
because some composers really like to be involved with the drafting process, and I've had some composers who, I don't know if they just like, don't want to send drafts, or they don't like sending sloppy copies or what, but they just like only want to send it by copy. That's totally fine.
but like, we also don't judge, like, I think, I really like being a part of the writing process, like, I know there's weird little projects or semi-tones and stuff on music, and some flyers, some is playable on my instrument, not on others, and vice versa, so like, a part of that is just asking, like, I like, yeah, please don't. It's in our style, guys. Give it to Drew. But yeah, I think like it doesn't have to be a finished final product. But here, I wrote this. Can you play? Like, oh, like I am in the process of this, and like we would love to see drafts. But we can also, depending on the time of year and what we're up to, we might say like, oh, we always want to be able to give every person the opportunity.
Like I have a Google sheet that I'm showing. It's called CD repertoire, and it is literally just like what have we played, what have we seen to play, when have we played stuff. I know it's also all on like up, but like I have a sheet like that really. Anything else?
Hopefully that answers
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Anything else people are wondering about? We're here.
And say, what advice do you wish you had?
Well, advice that I did receive in school, I don't know if advice or bad advice. My undergraduate saxophone teacher, John Sampson, is a huge like titan when it comes to music and saxophone. If you've never heard Morton Sabatnik's saxophone concerto, look it up and look up the history of it. It crashed during the premiere and every other. It was a piece for a Yamaha wind controller and orchestra. Awesome piece. But his advice was always say yes. If somebody asks me to do something, yes, I can. I remember his wife is Marilyn Shrew, incredible composer. Her saxophone is so hard, awesome. But we were in a studio class with Dr. Shrew playing the piano part that she just pulled out of nowhere with one of her kids. But one of her pieces, and Sam was in something along the lines of like, oh yeah, this part's really hard, it's impossible to play correctly. And he said you can. So you just make it work. Say yes.
Also, I mean, do it to what is a healthy amount of things. So don't burn yourself out. So yes, to too many things. And sometimes you're ready to say yes. Yeah, I think something that I wish I knew before was like I thought I had to be a certain level of musician before I could work with music. I thought like some of the techniques being secondary to my education to like, oh, I have to be good before I can do this, but there's no way of measuring what good is. And I think kind of having either that imposter syndrome or like waiting to do something, like don't wait to do it. Just go for it. Honestly, like I started experimenting with electric machines that we have with that sounded on one of my vocals, and I use guitar pedals for effects, and I don't know how some of that stuff works, and I was really nervous to go in, but I went to the Guitar Center and I brought it with me, and I tried a whole bunch of pedals, and people were like, "What is happening?" And I was like played some weird distorted like Ravel Bolero solo or whatever, trying to test out like polyphonic octave stuff. But I think like just going for it is something like there is no benchmark. You have to wait before you do something.
And don't be afraid to reach out to performers. We're humans. Like,
The way you say that makes it sound like you're not. Like I promise you are.
I feel like so often, like I've heard before, they're like, ones are like afraid to reach out to us. I'm like, no, we'll respond. Yeah, don't talk. I love my cat just as much as anyone else loves their cat. Maybe a little more. And another piece of advice I got from the saxophonist Nick Zula is you have to be a good hand. You have to like be able to just be nice, be able to hang out with you, be able to talk to people and not just, you gotta be business. Be nice. Anything else people want to learn about?
That's actually a really great segue for me, because speaking of hanging out, after this, we're gonna go hang out at the Titanic if you want to join us and just and chill and have some food and be a good day. So yeah.
I'm sure Drew would love to talk about cat.
Oh, I
Multiple
want.
cats. He's a crazy cat lady.
I want. I'm not.
You are a cat lady and we're crazy. So
Those are true. But how many cats do you have to have if you're a cat lady?
At least
yes, yes, Drew.
I think like
I
five.
feel like it's about the enthusiasm. You
It's
can do a
like-
lot.
It's the crazy
Like if you
part.
have one and you're dressing and taking tons of photos, like Keanu
I have
level,
so many pictures of my cats. So many.
then you're on the right
Yeah.
track. You know,
No, it's not.
I don't also see that as a negative.
That is true.
Okay,
Our composer's writing me a tenor saxophone trailer right now about shit cats.
it's actually you meowing through the
Yeah.
instrument as the
I've done
multi-volume.
Yeah, when you're better joined, I'll make sure that if you're rehearsing that piece, they open the door and listen and yeah, like when I heard them screaming.
Oh, yeah, if anyone here wants to like sample cat meows, like let me know.
I don't want to disrupt the Titanic hang, but I was gifted 12 passes for the Lunar Festival thing.
Oh.
So you can take one anyway, even if you don't plan on going, because they were gifted to us.
What is that?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
There is the Lunar New Year Festival
Oh, yeah.
down
it's
there.
Chinese New
There's
Year.
food. There's a whole food, like banquet thing to do. It just gets you free food. They're taking this ticket from you,
Oh.
and you get food if you want. It starts at 6:30, which is in 20-something minutes, I think. No, 35 minutes from now. But that's just free, and that's all I have. It's just free things for you.
Thank you so much for having us and listening to us and our experiences. And those just two of us on the pod.
Hopefully it's basically what you're expecting when you brought us here.
It was great.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, yeah. Okay. Well, so who wants to go to the board?
I'll just take one anyway and